Let's say it clearly, without beating around the bush, without sugarcoating. Something inside you has already died. You don't know exactly when it happened, but you feel it.
And you've felt it for years. It's not sadness. It's not stress. It's something deeper, quieter, darker. It's the feeling of being trapped in a skin that's not yours. The suspicion that you've been lied to from the start. And the worst part, you accepted it without protest. Since you were a child, you were told that being a man was a threat, that your strength had to be hidden, that your ambition was dangerous, that your desire to dominate, to conquer, to lead was a disease that needed to be cured with constant doses of obedience, self-control, and guilt. And you, without realizing it, signed the contract. An invisible contract, sealed with soft words and fake smiles. Be good. Don't make noise. Behave. Don't hurt. Don't bother. Ask for permission. Give in. Be quiet. Endure. They taught you to please rather than confront, to kneel rather than stand out, to repress rather than express. They told you that you were a good man when you gave up your power, when you stayed still, when you swallowed your silence while the world stepped on your face with a hypocritical smile. But they never explained what that would cost you. They never warned you that in that process of domestication, you would lose the most valuable thing, your identity, your fire, your danger. Do you know when everything started to break? The day you apologized for being yourself. The day you felt guilty for wanting something strongly. The day you lowered your voice so as not to upset anyone. That was the moment the world knew you were no longer a threat. That they could use you, mold you, turn you into an emotional accessory, a wild card, a servant, a piece of furniture. And since then, you started to die in small doses. No, you are not weak by nature. You were not born that way. They turned you into that. They programmed you like a machine designed to please, and you accepted it because they sold it to you as a virtue. But the reality is much darker. They cut off your fangs, filed down your claws, and then told you to smile. And now, you are empty, invisible, irrelevant, because men who seek approval don't inspire respect, because men who live to please never lead. And you know it. You feel it every time someone talks to you with pity instead of admiration. Every time they smile at you, but don't fear you. Every time they listen to you, but don't obey you. Every time they tolerate you, but don't follow you. Here's the truth nobody wants to tell you. Nobody respects a programmed man. Nobody follows someone who doubts. Nobody fears someone who asks for permission. And you've been asking for permission to exist for years. You have lived under others' rules. You have played the role of the good boy who sacrifices himself, who listens, who waits his turn, a turn that never comes. And you know what's worst? That while you were trying to fit in, not to bother, to be fair, kind, stable, other men were conquering the world. Dangerous men. Men who didn't apologize for their ambition. Men who didn't need anyone to understand them because they already understood themselves. Men who didn't beg for love because they loved themselves enough not to sell their soul for a bit of company. Where are those men now? At the top. And you? Trapped in a body that doesn't vibrate, in a life that doesn't represent you, surrounded by people who don't know you, playing a role you never wanted. How long will you keep going like this? How long will you keep pretending you don't feel that sacred fury inside you? That repressed energy that burns you inside every time you smile when you really want to destroy everything? That inner voice that screams while you lower your head like a scared dog? What they didn't tell you is that this rage is not your enemy. It's your call, it's your essence, it's your signal, because true power is born from the internal chaos you decide to master. But before mastering it, You have to recognize it. You have to accept something. The you are now has to die. That you who pleases, fears, was raised by fear and conditioned by others' morals. That you is the obstacle. That you will not survive what's coming. It doesn't deserve to. This is not a motivational message. It's a sentence. It's a warning. It's a call for you to be reborn or disappear. Because the world doesn't need more submissive men. The world is starving for strength, for presence, for authentic leadership. And you have that spark. But you've turned it off again and again for fear of burning. I want you to ask yourself something. Which version of you is governing your life right now? The man who acts from his strength, or the one who reacts from his fear? The one who controls his emotions, or the one who hides them out of shame? The one who steers the course, or the one who is dragged by others' waves? Because while you wait, others decide. While you think about how to please, others impose their will. While you apologize for being masculine, others use that energy to build empires. And here comes the harshest truth. No one is coming to rescue you. No one is going to tell you it's time to wake up. No one is going to push you toward your power. Because society needs you to keep being docile. It needs you to doubt. It needs you to be useful, not free. It needs you to obey with a smile, not question with fire in your eyes. That's why everything is designed to castrate your soul, from fairy tales to social norms, from education to language. Everything tells you the same thing. Don't be dangerous, but you were born to be. Danger is not violence. Danger is freedom without apology. Danger is being emotionally autonomous. Danger is not needing applause. Danger is being complete without depending on anyone. That's what they fear. That's what they want to extinguish. But they can't if you wake up. And to wake up, you have to face that weak me you have fed for years. You have to confront it, insult it, challenge it, destroy it. Because you cannot be reborn while you keep protecting the imposter. You cannot be strong while you keep caring for the fragile one living inside you. Transformation begins when you decide to break all chains, even those that seem loving. Because not everything that caresses you wants the best for you. Sometimes poison comes wrapped in understanding. Sometimes the knife comes disguised as advice. Sometimes the cruelest prison looks like, I love you just as you are. Number, they don't want you as you are. They want you functional. They want you predictable. They want you safe, stable, tame. But you are not here to be tame. You are here to be a man who respects himself so much that he doesn't need anyone's approval. A man who becomes so master of himself that others have to adapt to his presence. A man who is respected not because he is good, but because he is complete. Because he can be fierce, but chooses not to be. Because he has the capacity to destroy, but prefers to build. Because he masters his emotions, not because he represses them, but because he understands them. That is the man who scares. That is the man who transcends. That is the man the world no longer knows how to handle, and that can be you. But first, the other you, the domesticated one, has to disappear. Are you willing to die, to be reborn? Because this is not a video, it's a ritual, it's an internal demolition, and if you're not ready to stop being the victim, leave now. But if there is something inside you that still vibrates, stay. Because we are going to kill it together. The submissive me, the weak one, the one who always waits, the one who asks for permission, the one who fears to bother, the one who needs to be loved. And when it falls, the true you will be reborn. The one who doesn't need permission, the one who doesn't seek acceptance. the one who isn't afraid to be dangerous. And then, the world will never be able to ignore you again. And now that the weak you has fallen, that its voice has been silenced among the rubble of your excuses, it's time to talk about something no one mentions but is destroying your strength from within: the lie of emotional equality. They have told you that you must feel the same as others, that you must react the same, that if they cry, you should cry too, that if someone breaks, you must break too, because if you don't, they call you cold, they call you insensitive, they call you toxic. And do you know what that is? Emotional manipulation. It's not empathy. It's a subtle way to drag you into the fragility of others so no one is exposed. Because your strength is a mirror too uncomfortable for the weak. Your stability reminds them of their chaos. Your silence screams louder than any word. And then, they punish you for not syncing with them. But you are not obliged to feel the same as the rest. You are not guilty for having control over yourself. You are not sick for not breaking with every blow. You don't have to carry others' emotions to prove you are human. Being a man doesn't mean being impermeable. It means being impermeable to what doesn't deserve to enter. And that, my friend, is not coldness. It's clarity. They put in your head that you must share your pain, expose it, air it out. That if you keep it inside, you are repressing. Another lie. Because not everything should be said. Not everything should be shown. Not everything should be processed out loud. There are pains that only make sense in silence. There are battles fought in the dark, without witnesses, without advice, without tears. And that internal space, that refuge only you have access to, is sacred. Don't contaminate it by following an emotional trend that turns vulnerability into a spectacle. Don't fall into that trap. Today's society has turned pain into identity. Wounds are no longer healed, they are displayed. Solutions are no longer sought, likes are sought. Being a victim sells. But being strong scares. And because it scares, they silence it. They teach you to cry, but not to decide, to express, but not to solve, to feel, but not to transform. And do you know what that produces? A generation of men trapped in their own emotional swamp, convinced that verbalizing their chaos is healing it, when in reality they are perpetuating it. Because if you always talk about the same pain and never face it, you are not healing. You are ruminating. You are reliving your own weakness like someone picking off a scab to check if it's still bleeding. No, don't get confused. You're not less of a man for feeling. But you are more of a man if you choose what to do with what you feel. Feeling is not the same as reacting. An emotion is not an order. It's just a warning, a code you can interpret or ignore. Emotional mastery doesn't mean repression, it means direction. And only the truly dangerous know how to do it. The rest drift aimlessly. They are slaves to every emotional wave. They wake up happy and collapse over an unanswered message. They are like children with adult bodies, reacting to everything external because inside, they are hollow. That's why your job is not to share everything, nor to tell everything, nor to cry everything out. Your job is to perform alchemy with what you feel. Turn rage into focus, pain into decision, loneliness into direction, fear into movement. And this leads us to another poison disguised as virtue: prefab morality, that system of values you inherited without questioning. Don't be selfish. Don't think only of yourself. Be fair to everyone. Sounds nice, right? But it's not morality. It's an emotional obedience system designed so you're not a problem. Because a man who prioritizes himself makes others uncomfortable. A man who doesn't share his time with just anyone is arrogant. A man who focuses only on himself is narcissistic. And little by little, they convince you that being fair to everyone is more important than being fair to yourself. They fill you with emotional obligations you didn't choose. And every time you say no, they label you, they isolate you, they judge you. But tell me one thing. What's the point of giving everything if you end up empty? They taught you to think setting boundaries is cruel, that choosing your peace over others is selfish, that cutting off those who drain you is lacking compassion. And what has happened meanwhile? That you've been dissolving, that you have lived fragmented, trying to hold the emotional ruins of others while yours rot in silence. And why do you do it? Because deep down you fear not being loved if you stop being useful. Because you confused love with need. Because you grew up believing your worth was in how much you could give, not in who you are when you give nothing. Here's the brutal truth. If they only want you when you give, they don't want you. They use you. And you allow it because they taught you that being a good man means being sacrificial. But that's not kindness. It's self-annihilation with a forced smile. A complete man doesn't sacrifice himself for everyone. He selects, he chooses, he filters, not because he's cold, but because his energy is limited and his time is sacred. A powerful man is not available to everyone. He doesn't answer everyone. He doesn't save everyone, because he has understood something essential. The price of saving the world cannot be your destruction. And the more awake you are, the more people will tell you that you're becoming hard, cold, distant. They don't understand that it's not hardness, it's focus. It's not coldness, it's awareness. It's not arrogance. It's the result of having given too much for too long to those who only knew how to ask. Because there's something you have to accept. Your presence is a privilege, not a right. And if they don't treat it as such, withdraw. No drama, no speeches, no rage. Withdraw like a king leaves a room that's not worthy of him. That is true power. Not the one who shouts, not the one who threatens, not the one who begs, the one who leaves silently, because he knows his worth doesn't need explaining. And here comes the toughest part. You will have to give up many things that give you pleasure to become that man. Because the true path is not comfortable. You will lose friendships, you will feel alone, they will call you weird, distant, difficult. And that's where the most dangerous lie of all filters in. You're not okay if you're not accompanied. Lieutenant, there is no greater strength than learning to be with yourself without needing noise. Because in that silence, where others get lost, you find yourself. And when that happens, when you can look at yourself in the mirror without needing approval, without anyone's voice in your head, without fear of being alone, then you are no longer domesticable. You are free. And for that, you are dangerous. Because a man who doesn't need to be loved is the most feared man of all, and you haven't gotten there yet. But now you know the way, and you will take it, even if it hurts, even if you bleed, even if you have to kill every part of you that kept you chained. Because this time, you will be reborn without asking for forgiveness. You will rebuild yourself without asking for permission. And when you do, there will be no cage that can hold you ever again. And when you reach that point, when you no longer need to be loved, when you've crossed that invisible threshold where judgment loses power, something unexpected appears. The discomfort of others. Yes, exactly that. Because there's something they didn't tell you about becoming invulnerable. They don't applaud you. They fear you. They watch you suspiciously. They start talking behind your back, speculating, making up stories. Because they can't understand how someone like you, someone who used to be quiet, who used to smile and nod, now walks as if nothing touches him. And it's not arrogance. It's that you are no longer willing to disguise yourself to please. That change unleashes something in the environment. Their insecurity. Their need for you to return to your previous mold. Because your presence is unbearable to them when they can't control you. They felt safe having you predictable, available, domesticated. But now, they don't know how to deal with you. Because you don't react. Because you don't seek approval. Because you don't apologize for existing. And that's when loneliness becomes your most faithful companion. But not the loneliness that destroys, rather the one that reveals, the one that filters, the one that exposes everything that was noise and distraction. And in the middle of that silence, in that apparent absence, your true voice appears for the first time. The one that was always there, buried under tons of emotional programming, social norms, and others' expectations. The voice that doesn't need to shout to have authority. That voice that, finally, is yours. And here begins another stage, an even more dangerous one. Mastery of direction. Because until now, all you've done is free yourself. But freedom is not the end, it's the beginning. Now comes the time to decide where you're going, what you build with this new version of you, what path you take with that strength that no longer weighs you down, but guides you. And this is where most fall again. Because freedom, when you don't know how to use it, is an abyss. Many men, after breaking their programming, get lost because they confuse strength with brutality. They confuse control with ego. They confuse leadership with domination. And they chain themselves again, but this time to their own chaos. They become an inverted version of what they hated. No longer submissive, but not free either. Just reactive, uncontrolled, erratic. They think shouting is power, that imposing is authority, that intimidating is respect. And no, that is weakness disguised as strength. Because the true free man doesn't destroy randomly. He chooses with precision. His power is not an explosion, it's a strategy. He doesn't react to the world. He designs it, structures it, directs it. And there, right there, appears a word that changes everything. Purpose. Purpose is what turns strength into legacy. It's what transforms your energy into direction. Because without purpose, everything rots. You rot, your relationships rot, your time rots. And here comes the question that cuts like a blade. Do you know why you do what you do? Do you know where you're going? Or are you just running away from what you no longer want to be? Because many confuse breaking with moving forward. And breaking is not moving forward. Breaking is necessary, yes, but afterward you have to build. If you don't build, destruction becomes your addiction. And that's the fatal mistake. Men who wake up but don't steer. Men who destroy the lie but don't build truth. Men who abandon the victim role but then wander lost between rage and confusion. That's why your job now is not only to stand firm, it's to rise. It's to turn all this chaos into structure, into vision, into internal order. Because without order, power becomes ruin. And I'm not talking about empty discipline or toxic productivity. I'm talking about an emotional structure that is born from within. Your own system of values, boundaries, conscious decisions. Because if you don't govern yourself, the world will govern you. And do you know how to start governing yourself? With truth. Truths that hurt, that burn, that disarm. Truths you've been avoiding your whole life. Like this one, many of the people around you today don't want you free. They want you predictable, because you make them feel comfortable, because they can manipulate you, because they depend on your weakness to feel strong. Look at them closely. Who stays when you start rising? Who really rejoices in your evolution? And who, instead, begins to let you go with excuses disguised as emotional distance? Most don't leave because they don't need you anymore. They leave because you no longer need their chains. And it's hard, because some of those faces will be familiar. Friends, even family, people you loved. But the price of becoming master of yourself is to let go of everything that tied you disguised as affection. And I promise you something, it hurts at first, like ripping off skin, like going out into the cold without a coat, but then you feel the breeze. And there you understand that what hurt wasn't loneliness, but the wrong company. And then something wild happens. You become magnetic. Not because you're nice, not because you smile more, but because you radiate something the world has forgotten: sovereignty. A sovereign man doesn't impose, but doesn't give in, doesn't try to convince, but doesn't explain either. His mere presence generates a silent tension. And it's not mystery, it's clarity. The clarity of someone who no longer lives based on others' opinions. The clarity of someone who has rebuilt himself from pain, not from the need to please. The clarity of someone who has understood that being dangerous doesn't mean causing harm, but being someone with the ability to do so, who chooses not to. Because true strength is always in choice. And now you're at that crossroads. You can keep choosing to be harmless, waiting for approval, asking permission for every step you take. Or you can embrace this new version of yourself. A version that doesn't need to shout because its silence is enough. That doesn't need attention because its presence already imposes. That doesn't need to prove anything because its path says it all. So decide. Because the world doesn't need more men programmed to obey. It needs men who program themselves to lead, to love without dependence, to fight without hatred, to live without fear of loss. And that, my friend, starts with you. Here, now, without asking for forgiveness, without looking back, without waiting for anyone. Only you. Only the man who was reborn from the fire the rest feared to touch. And if you've made it this far, you're no longer the same. You've heard words many couldn't bear. You've digested truths others avoid their whole lives. And yet, you're still here. Do you notice it? That pressure in your chest isn't anxiety. It's the roar of something awakening. Something that has been asleep for so long, you had forgotten how it sounded. That something is you, the real you, the untamable you, the you who doesn't ask for permission. And now you know it. You can't go back. You can't unhear this. You can't pretend you didn't understand. Because the seed is already planted. And now it's germinating. Even if you try to ignore it. Even if you try to turn it off. Even if you try to bury it under new excuses, it's too late. The lie is broken, and once broken, it no longer hides you. And now what? Now comes what no one warns you about. The price of waking up is that you'll see everything. You'll notice the chains in every conversation, in every gesture, in every look. You'll see how others try not to break, how they pretend to be stable while they rot inside. You'll feel it. And it will hurt, but you can't save them. Not now. Not until you are fully armed. And I tell you clearly, you won't find many hands to help you on this path. Because this path is not walked in groups, it's walked alone. But when you finish it, you won't need help. Because you become the help. You become the authority. You become that man whom others look at without understanding why they feel small next to him. Not because of what you say, not because of what you do, but because of what you have conquered inside you. Because that shows, and it can't be faked. And now I want you to understand something else, something that changes everything. The respect you seek outside only appears when you learn to fear yourself. Not from fear, but from reverence, from admiration, from "I will never betray myself again." And now that we've made it this far, before we continue, I want to present the following to you. Our book, The Formula of Awakening, is now available. Do you feel like there's something inside you that wants to awaken, but you don't know where to start? Then I invite you to transform your way of thinking, and with it, your way of living. Discover who you can become. Start today. The link to get the ebook is in the first pinned comment of this video. Grab your copy now at a great price. With that said, let's continue with the video. When you achieve that, everything changes. Your way of speaking, your way of moving, your way of looking. Because a man who has faced his weakness and destroyed it walks differently. He doesn't need to fight. He doesn't need to prove anything. His energy precedes him. And if you feel you're not there yet, it's okay. But promise yourself this: never lie to yourself again. Never hide that rage again. Never ask for permission to exist again. Promise yourself you will build yourself, even if it takes time, even if it hurts, even if no one understands, because you are not here to entertain, nor to fit in, nor to please. You are here to take control, to recover the inner throne you abandoned, to become someone so brutally conscious that the world has no choice but to respect you or get out of the way. That's the goal. That's the direction. And if this video has lit something inside you, no matter how small, write it in the comments. I want you to leave just one phrase. I have awakened. Don't explain anything. Don't justify anything. Just that. Those who know will know. And if you have felt that this truth is yours, if it has stirred something that was silent for too long, subscribe now. Not to get numbers, to be part of a legion of men who have stopped obeying and started living with sharpened teeth. Because this is not a channel, it's a territory, a place for those who no longer want to be shaped by the world, but want to shape it themselves. And before you go, listen to this. This video doesn't end here. What ends is the version of you that still needed approval to breathe. Turn off the device and let the silence confirm it for you. Because if you listen carefully, inside you, there is a roar that no longer intends to be silenced ever again. See you at the next internal war, and this time, you'll come with weapons loaded.